Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to see the second part of the occupational health. In the last lecture or in the part one, we have seen mainly the various occupational health hazards, and today we will deal with the prevention of occupational health hazards. So there are basically three important measures: medical measures, engineering measures, and legislative measures for prevention of occupational health hazards. We will see all these 7 medical measures one by one. The first and foremost important is pre-placement examination. As the name suggests, it is done at the time of employment before joining any job, and it includes the worker's medical, taking the history related to medical history, family history, occupational history, and social history, a thorough physical examination, and also the investigations like blood investigations and radiological investigations, and commonly chest X-ray is done in radiological investigation, and purpose is place the right man in the right job. We have seen what is ergonomics, fitting the worker to the job. So this is properly followed in majority of the big industries, not in the small scale industries, but armed forces organization or paramilitary or police force, they have this proper system of pre-placement examination while recruiting the individuals. This chart shows you various hazards related to different elements like lead, dyes, solvents, and the undesirable conditions. So any individual is bearing these uh, some conditions or having these conditions, like if a person is suffering from anemia, then he should not be employed in the industry where there is lead exposure because it may worsen the anemia. Similarly, other conditions are mentioned over here. The next important is periodical examination. Not only just the pre-placement examination, but regular periodical examination is must. It is required because many occupational diseases develop slowly and not recognized in early stages. So you all know the importance of screening and the early diagnosis and treatment in the secondary prevention of diseases. So the frequency and content of periodical examination will depend on the type of occupational exposure. It is carried out monthly where exposure to lead or toxic dyes or radium is there. And it may be carried out daily where exposure to irritant chemicals like dichromates are handled. So generally the annual medical examination is carried out in most of the industries. And some times it may be duration may be more than that, but it is required because certain occupational hazards we have seen in last week. If we prevent the further exposure, we can prevent the further deterioration. The next important is medical and healthcare services to the workers. So in India, Employee State Insurance Act provides medical care to the workers and their families. And within the factory, the first aid services should be made available. Sometimes this proper first aid given at the earliest, maybe life and limb saving also. And other important is immunization of the workers. We know the importance of immunization in current COVID pandemic, and the healthcare workers who are at most risk, they have given the priority. The next is the notification. So under the Factories Act, 22 diseases are notifiable. Under the other Mines Act, 3 diseases. Under Dock Laborers Act, 8 diseases are notifiable. And this is required because of the this is recognized internationally for the purpose of workmen's compensation. And if the records are available, if we come to know the trend of the development of the occupational disease, then we can take timely steps and prevent further diseases. The main purpose is to initiate and to implement preventive and protective measures, and then to investigate the working conditions and other circumstances which have caused the disease. The next is the supervision of the working environment. So you know the what you take in the environmental and socio-economic history, the parameters for family care. Similarly, in occupational environment also, the ambient temperature, lighting facilities, ventilation, humidity, noise, cubic space area for every worker, air pollution hazards, and sanitation. All these things are taken into consideration. So if there is a poorly illuminated area in the company where there is proper illumination is required, then there is likely chances of the industrial accidents. Then similarly, raw materials, processes, products manufactured, everything is timely supervised and monitored. Other things like fatigue, night work, shift work, weight carried by the workers. There are norms also under the Factories Act, and this has to be properly supervised. The physician, in cooperation with the safety engineers, industrial hygienists, and psychologists, will carry out the supervision rounds. And these are supposed to be the surprise rounds also, and also the regular rounds also. But mere if there is a lack of supervision, then definitely the standards decrease. And if you keep regular supervision, then the standards are maintained. The next important is maintenance and analysis of records. For planning, development, and efficient operation of an occupational health service, this is very much required. And workers' health record and occupational disability record must also be maintained. And this enables to watch over the health of the workers, to assess the hazards inherent in certain types of work, and to devise and to improve the preventive measures. So record keeping is very much important, and even simple record like immunization is required in our healthcare industry. When the if the booster doses are required, then when the last dose was taken, when next booster dose is required, whether he has taken or not. So that can be just checked from the records. The next important is health education and counseling. So health education is the part of health promotion, which we consider the mode of intervention under the primary preventive measure, is very much important. So information, education, communication. For every disease and for every sector, health education is very much important. So we know the importance of health literacy in this COVID pandemic era also. So this is required for all. So the for considering the occupational environment, all the risks involved in that job and measures to be taken for the personal protection should be explained to the worker before the placement, as well as regularly and repeatedly. This repetition and reinforcement is very much required for proper use. So correct use of mask, gloves, etc. should be explained. So we also know some lackadaisical attitude of healthcare workers in wearing of the mask even in this COVID situation. Then simple rules of hygiene, hand washing, trimming the nails, body cleanliness, cleanliness of clothes. This all these things are required to prevent the exposure of certain dust or chemicals. And the purpose is to assist the worker in his process of adjustment to the working home and community environment. So this is about the medical measures. Now we'll see about the engineering measures. So there are various engineering measures. On this page, you can see the 7 measures and further. So there are total 13 measures. We'll see one by one. So first important is design of building. So here the type of floor, walls, height of the ceiling, roof, doors, windows, cubic space area for the each worker. That has to be think properly and planned by the architect, considering the requirements of the industry. Because the initial planning and designing is very much required. Because if you start working, running the industry or anything, then later on changing as per the requirement is very difficult. So proper planning is very much required. Then good housekeeping. We know the simple housekeeping is the like sanitation, like general cleanliness. But in addition to that, all the requirement of ventilation, lighting, washing, food arrangements, and general maintenance, everything has to be proper in the occupational area. Then walls, ceilings, passages should be whitewashed at least once a year. Then dust which settles down on the floor should be wet mopped, because if you just clean it with the broom, then again the particles or dust particles will get overborne, and there is further risk of exposure. So there should be proper vacuum cleaners or wet mopping has to be done. Then general ventilation. So adequate ventilation has to be maintained. So considering the occupational environment, there should be a proper mechanical ventilation available. There should be proper exhaust ventilation should be available. And the under the Indian Factories Act, the prescribed minimum is the 500 cubic feet of airspace for each worker. The factories which are installed after 1948. Before that, 350 cubic feet of airspace was mandatory. So this is for proper ventilation purpose. But you in small scale industries or where there is no properly norms are followed, you will see the congested working environment of the workers. Then mechanization. So to reduce the hazard of contact with harmful substances. So mechanization in the form of instead of hand mixing, it should be replaced by the mechanical devices, which can prevent the simple dermatitis. Then acids can be conveyed from one place to another through pipes, and you can prevent from the acid burns. So wherever possible, the normal hand mixing or things should be replaced by the mechanization to prevent the exposure or reduce or minimize the exposure. The next is substitution. So substitution means replacement of the harmful materials by harmless material, one or of less toxicity. Because every time you may not find the harmless material, but of less toxicity, you will find something. So substitution of white phosphorus by phosphorus sesquisulfide in the match industry that resulted in the elimination of the necrosis of jaw. Then replace harmful lead paints by the zinc or iron paints. Then silver salts can be used in place of mercury salts. So and acetone can be used in place of benzene. So such substitution is very much required. Then dust. We have seen the what is the size of the respirable dust is less than 5 microns, and the various pneumoconiosis caused by the exposure to various types of dust. So this can be controlled at point of origin by water space. Example, wet drilling of the rock, so that it should not get airborne and should not be get inhaled. Then inclusion of little moisture in the process of grinding, sieving, and mixing will produce less dust. Then enclosure. So increasing the harmful materials and processes will prevent the escape of the dust and fumes into the factory atmosphere. So at every step where you can minimize the dust getting airborne, minimizing its exposure to the worker, that is to be needed. So grinding machinery can be completely enclosed and it is generally combined with the exhaust ventilation. And again the isolation. So role of isolation for the communicable distance we know. Similarly, this is isolation of the offensive processes in a separate building. So that the workers only dealing directly with that will be exposed to that, but workers which are not dealing directly with that will remain out of the exposure. And certain operations can also be done at the night hours in the absence of usual staff. Then local exhaust ventilation. We have seen the how to control the dust, and important one is the local exhaust ventilation. Then this should be placed near to the place at the source of the dust. Then protective devices. So personal protective measures or personal protective equipments. So proper use of it is very important, and this personal protective equipment comes under the specific protection under the primary preventive measure. So any of the personal protective equipment can be kept for exam point of exam as a spot to you, and will be asked what is the mode of intervention, which is which type of prevention, where it is used. So we know the respirators, those which remove contaminants from air, or those to which the fresh air is supplied. And workers should know what kind to use and when to use and how to use. And proper, and this not just the one-time training is important. Proper supervision of the workers is required, whether they are using every time, mainly while they are in the working environment, and repeated training is required in kind of some posters or other pamphlets you can keep it. Simple, you know, if we are going to carry out hand washing, so keeping that proper 6 steps of hand washing near to the wash basin, that will improve the hand washing technique of the worker or anyone. Then other protective devices like earplugs, ear muffs, helmets, that has to be worn. And environmental monitoring. So periodical environmental surveys sampling the factory atmosphere to determine the concentration of dust and gases in the atmosphere. Thermal control, ventilation, lighting, is everything is monitored. And it is done again by joint collaboration of doctors and engineers, because doctors, we are in the advisory role and the engineers are in the executive role. So like our principles of primary healthcare, intersectoral coordination is required to achieve the better results. Then statistical monitoring. So review at regular intervals of collected data on health and environmental exposure of occupational groups. So when the data is analyzed, just raw data is of no use. We have to derive some information from it. We have to analyze it, and based on that, we can explain the importance of proper preventive measures to the factory owner or the who is looking after that. Then main objective is to evaluate the adequacy of the preventive measures and occupational health criteria, including permissible exposure levels. And the last and not the least, this most important is research for better understanding of industrial health problems. Because of research only we know that which dust leads to which type of pneumoconiasis and what we can done to prevent it. And this has to be ongoing activity. So it is of two kinds. One is the pure research, and other is the research for the improvement of or in connection with a manufactured product. Okay. Now, after the medical measures and engineering measures, the third type of measures is the legislative measures. First, we have to understand that society has an obligation to protect the health of the workers engaged in diverse occupations, because these are the service providers. So, main important factory laws are the Factories Act and the ESI Act. We'll see these in detail. So, before we start with these Factory Act and ESI Act, first let us know what is the social security. So the ILO, International Labour Organization, defines social security as the security that society furnishes through appropriate organization against certain risks to which its members are exposed. And this labor laws, why they came into existence, not because the government intention for from their side, but it is because of the constant pressure from the workers, trade unions, ILO. So that forced the Indian government or any government of the country that has forced. And there are laws. There was a Workmen's Compensation Act in 1923, and then the ESI and Factories Act were launched in 1948, and there are further amendments to these acts. Okay, in these slides, I have kept quite details because most of the students mentioned that we are not carrying our books along with us. So just to refer it. So the Factory Act, it was enacted in the 1948 and amended in 1987. So why this 1987 is important? Because in 1984, on 3rd December 1984, there was a Bhopal glass tragedy in the Union Carbide Company because of the leakage of the methyl isocyanate gas. And after that, many fall ill suddenly. It was a point source epidemic, and still many are suffering from that. And after that great incidents, like we should be in a preparatory stage or prevention stage, but we rather we react to everything. So in fact, still we wait for the disasters to happen to improve on ourselves. But still, after the 1984, this act was amended, and the factory owners were made directly responsible for ensuring safety and health of the working conditions in the factory. The scope of the act, this is applicable to whom, not applicable to whom. So this is applicable to the establishments employing 10 or more workers where power is used, and 20 or more workers where power is not used. And the term worker includes even the contract labor. Now, what are the general duties of the employer? So duties include ensuring proper maintenance of the plant and systems of work in the factory, and also the provision of information, instruction, training to the workers for their health and safety. And the inspecting staff, the government, central or state, as per their requirements, will appoint the staff and certifying surgeon. Then now the important provisions under the Factory Act. The first is health, safety, and welfare. So remember what I have underlined over here. These are the MCQs for your exam. So before 1948, the 350 cubic feet of space was mandatory for each worker, but after 1948, this was increased to 500 cubic feet for having proper ventilation and health of the worker. Then the safety officer, where a factory where the 1,000 or more workers are employed, there should be an appointment of a safety officer in that factory. Then welfare, where there are more than 250 workers in a factory, there should be a canteen facility. Where there are 30 or more women workers in the family, then a correct should be provided. And also the simple provisions like adequate washing facilities, appliances, shelters, restrooms, lunchroom, that has to be there. And also, if there are more than 500 workers, a welfare officer should be there in the factory. So remember, for more than 500 workers, welfare officers; for more than 1,000 workers, safety officer is required. Then employment in hazardous process. A site appraisal committee is to be constituted to submit recommendations on the siting of the factories using hazardous processes. And also in such industries, women and children labor, not children, adolescent labor are not employed. In hours of work, the Act has prescribed a maximum of 48 hours of work, excluding overtime per week. If there is overtime, then it is up to 60 hours, including overtime, with maximum spread over of 12 hours per day. and it should include the rest interval of half an hour after every 5 hours of work. And for adolescents, the maximum hours of work per day have been restricted to 4.5 hours. So it is half to the adults. Now, employment of young persons and women. So first and important is the act prohibits employment of children below 14 years of age. So even if you go to simple small hotels or something, you will see the board that there is येथे बाल कामगार काम करत नाहीत. But still you may find the children, you can easily make out that this is not 14-year-old. But if you ask them what is your age, they will say 14 complete. So it is occurring, but still because of the legal provisions only, this number has reduced. Now the persons between 15 to 18 years are termed as adolescents as far as this employment in factories is considered, and the certifying surgeon, which is appointed by the government, will certify that this is the adolescent within the 15 to 18 years of age group, and whether he is fit for that job or not. Then adolescent employees and women are restricted from employment in certain dangerous occupation and hazardous processes, and they are allowed to work between 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. So there are no night duties. Then leave with wages. If a worker completes the 12 months of continuous work in that factory, then leave at the rate of 1 day for every 20 days for adults and 1 day for every 15 days of adolescence can be availed. And they can accumulate leave in a year for 30 days for adults and 40 days for children. So this paid leave can be carried forward to the next year. Now, notifiable occupation disease. We have seen under the medical measures what is the importance of notification. And under this act, it is obligatory on the part of the factory management to give information regarding specified accidents which cause death or serious bodily injury, what we call it as a grievous injury, regarding occupational diseases. Because there is workers' compensation related to this notification. And provisions have also been made for safety and occupational health surveys in the factories. Now, after this Factory Act, the other important act is the ESI Act, Employees State Insurance Act, Karmachari Rajya Bima Nigam, that is Employee State Insurance Corporation. So again, this act was also passed in 1948. Applicability of this act is for small power using factories employing 10 to 19 persons and non-power using factories employing 20 or more persons. Along with that, other shops, hotel, restaurants, cinemas, theaters, road motor transport establishments, newspaper establishments, and the state government can decide about which to include in addition to these. In administration, Union Minister of Labor is the chairman and secretary is the vice chairman to the of this ESI corporation. Then members representing central and state government, employers as well as employees of organization, medical profession, parliament are the members. Then there is a standing committee constituted from the members of corporation, which acts as an executive body for the administration of the scheme. The chief executive officer is the director general assisted by these functionaries. There is medical benefit council, the head office is in Delhi, then there are some regional and sub-regional offices, and the medical facilities are provided through ESI hospital, their dispensaries or some panel clinics. Now we'll see the important things under the ESI Act. First is the finance. The scheme is run by contributions by employees, employers, and grants from the central and state government. So employer contributes 4.75% and employee contributes 1.75% of the total wages. So employer is like a factory owner and employee means it is worker. The state government's share of expenditure on medical care is 1/8 and ESI corporations it is 7/8 of the total cost of medical care. So these values you will have to remember for the exam point of view. What is the percentage share by the state government and ESI corporation? So what are the benefits to the employees under this ESI Act? So these are the various benefits. We'll see one by one. And all these benefits under the ESI scheme are paid in cash except the medical benefit which is given in kind. So medical benefits. So it is like a full medical care and it comprises of OPD services, supply of drugs and dressings, specialist services, investigations, domiciliary services, antenatal, natal, postnatal services, immunization services, family planning. So it is comprehensive medical care sort of. Then it is provided in a direct pattern or indirect pattern. Direct pattern means ASI hospitals are there, ASI dispensaries are there, or in the indirect pattern where there are registered medical practitioners designated, which are known as insurance medical practitioners. So these are the private practitioners where the employees can avail their services. Then other medical facilities are available like dangers, artificial limbs, etc. Now, after the medical benefit, important is the sickness benefit. Under this, the periodical cash payment to an insured person is done in case of sickness, and the benefit is payable for a maximum period of 91 days in any continuous period of 365 days. The individual or insured person receives 70% of the average daily wages. Previously, it was 50%. Now it has increased to 70%. But certain diseases, like there are chronic diseases like tuberculosis, leprosy, malignancies. So in that case, there is extended sickness benefit. So in addition to 91 days, it is long-term extended up to a period of 2 years. And there is enhanced sickness benefit also, mainly to promote the national interest of population control. There is 14 days enhanced sickness benefit for tubectomy in females and 7 days for vasectomy. And amount payable is double the standard sickness benefit. Then next is the maternity benefit. For confinement, now there is 26 weeks days leave, 26 weeks leave at the full wages. Previously it was 12 weeks. Now it has been amended and increased to 26 weeks. And for miscarriage, it is 6 weeks. For sickness arising out of confinement, it is 30 days. And the monetary benefit for safe confinement, it has been increased from 2,500 to 5,000. Then there is a disablement benefit. In that, there is a provision of cash payment, pre-medical treatment, and 90% of the wages are paid till the temporary disablement lasts. And if there is a permanent disablement, then life pension is given to the worker. And next is the dependence benefit. So dependence means the children below the 18 years of age or his spouse. And pension of 90% of wages will be paid periodically to the dependents. But if an eligible son or daughter is, they're entitled up to the age of 18 only, and if daughter gets married before age of 18, then that benefit is not given to her. Then there is also provision for funeral expenses, and this benefit is a cash payment not exceeding rupees 10,000. Previously, it was up to 3,000. Now it has been increased to 10,000. So such policy changes will go on. Then the rehabilitation, there is a medical treatment after permanent disablement or retirement is provided to the worker. Then what have we seen that that were the benefits to the employees or workers. Now, what are the benefits to the employers or factory owners? So why they should avail this or register under this ESI Act? So there is exemption from the applicability of the previous Workmen's Compensation Act of 1923. There is exemption from the Maternity Benefit Act of 1961. There is also exemption from payment of medical allowance employees to employees and their dependents or arranging for their medical care. And also there is rebate under the Income Tax Act on contribution deposited in the ESI account. And most important is the healthy workforce. If the workforce is healthy, then definitely the production will be more and the benefit will be more or munafa will be more. Then also there is now recently launched Rajiv Gandhi Shramik Kalyan Yojana, launched in 2005. So there is unemployment allowance under this scheme for the workers who are rendered unemployed involuntarily due to retrenchment or closure of the factory, etc. This is given up to the period of maximum period of 6 months. So to summarize, this act provides social security scheme for employees drawing wages not exceeding rupees 21,000 per annum. This scheme framed under the act aims at providing for certain cash benefits to employees in the event of sickness, maternity, employment injury, and medical facilities in kind. Then the act also has provisions to identify the employees who are entitled to get benefits. This is all about the preventive measures of occupational health. Thank you very much. After this session, I will be sending you Google form questionnaire as routine. It consists of 10 MCQs. You have to submit it in 10 minutes, required for your attendance marking. Thank you very much. If you have any doubts, queries, questions, let me know on personal WhatsApp or email. Thank you.